news tonight. We do hope you had yourselves a productive Tuesday and ready to hear the headlines. Analysts and politicians alike argue that economic and ethnic-based political interests are among the key reasons Belgium has sided with the Congolese government in the ongoing security crisis in the eastern DRC. Regional analysts find that the vested interests of certain countries and international organizations are key factors undermining efforts to achieve lasting peace and security in eastern DRC. On the international scale, Paul Banoba, Africa Regional Advisor for the corruption watchdog Transparency International, has noted that more support is needed for African governments committed to fighting corruption by establishing a system for citizens to report corruption crimes. Once again, we're glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali, and I bringing you tonight's bulletin is Martina Abera. Let us start off by letting you know about a joint statement between the State of Qatar, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the Republic of Rwanda that was released today on the 18th of March 2025 from Doha. It reads, as part of efforts to ease the situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the State of Qatar hosted a trilateral meeting in Doha on Tuesday, March 18, 2025, attended by His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, His Excellency President Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, and His Excellency President Felix Tshisekedi Tshilombo, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The heads of state welcomed the progress made in the Rwanda and Nairobi processes, as well as the joint EAC-SADC summit held in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania on the 8th of February 2025. The heads of state reaffirmed the commitment of all parties to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire as agreed at the SADC summit. The heads of state then agreed on the need to continue the discussions initiated in Doha in order to establish solid foundations for lasting peace as envisioned in the Rwanda-Nairobi process, now merged and/or aligned. His Excellency President Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, and His Excellency President Felix Tshisekedi, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, thanked the State of Qatar and His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, for their hospitality and for organizing this fruitful meeting, which helped build confidence in a shared commitment to a secure and stable future for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the region. Analysts and politicians alike argue that economic and ethnic-based political interests are among the key reasons Belgium has sided with the Congolese government in the ongoing security crisis in the eastern DRC. Drawing from historical ties and Belgium's past role in the region, Senator Evode Uwizeyimana explained why he believes Belgium is backing the Congolese government in the conflict. He also pointed out that other European countries have uncritically accepted misinformation spread by Belgium to serve its own interests. Dr. Ismail Bakanan, a university lecturer, added that Rwanda's decision to cut diplomatic ties with Belgium should serve as a lesson to other African nations in their quest for self-determination and dignity. During a town hall meeting at the BK Arena over the weekend, President Paul Kagame expressed frustration over Belgium's continued interference in Rwanda's governance. Historically, Rwanda's relationship with Belgium, dating back to the colonial period, has been marked by political interference. Some decisions made by Belgium towards Rwanda even contributed to the events leading up to and the culmination of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, the fastest genocide in all recorded human history. Regional analysts find that the vested interests of certain countries and international organizations are key factors undermining efforts to achieve lasting peace and security in Eastern DRC. We have more of this report coming from Adam Squizera.
In a statement released by AFC M23 rebels on Monday, the group accused some international organizations of deliberately undermining the peace process and making direct negotiations impossible by imposing sanctions on its members. The European Union announced new sanctions of the AFC M23 members on Monday ahead of Tuesday's negotiations with the DRC government. Gasumina Jean-Baptiste, a political international analyst, notes that such actions by European countries demonstrated their unwillingness to see the DRC crisis resolved as it serves their own interests.
The European Union decided to sanctions on M23 and AFC leadership. Because of that, those sanctions decided not to attend the negotiations in Rwanda, because actually you cannot expect somebody who is sanctioned to travel and make a commitment towards the peace when you are sanctioning him after or her after he has decided or has accepted to negotiate. So I think it will be a kind of contradiction. Either they want these people to continue war because war is in their interest, or they want peace. If they want peace, they should work towards achieving peace. But if threatened with sanctions and individual other mechanisms, then I think this won't work. So they preferred not to end those negotiations in explaining how they are disappointed with the decision taken against them by the European Union.
Analysts find that these measures are not just an obstacle to negotiations, but a deliberate attempt to ensure the talks collapse before they even begin.
Peace processes are never affected by one failure or the other, because the ultimate objective of even going to war is to make sustainable peace, deal with the causes of the war, and build a peaceful future. Going to war is the last alternative in all situations. No human being likes war. So definitely, at the end of the day, there will be a peaceful mechanism that will rebuild Congo. I cannot tell when and how, but for now, talking about the Rwanda process and the decision by the M23 not to attend the Rwanda peace talks has a very justifiable backdrop.
Alois Mutabingwa explains the failure of the mediator in this crisis.
Like President Lorenzo is part of the SADC, and it's SADC that made a decision to contribute to that military offensive against M23. It is not, therefore, the same President Lorenzo, the same Angola, that is supposed to be positioning as a mediator in the same conflict that Angola, like SADC, have been a party to the conflict, irrespective of who donated the soldiers, the mediated settlement process.
On January 27, 2025, M23 captured the city of Goma, and 3 weeks later, it seized Bukavu. According to the analysts, the robust battlefield strength underscores that the DRC and its partners have no viable alternative but to establish a framework that enables peace talks.
In Ngororero, students at Nyanje Secondary School say that being part of the Culture and Heroism Club has strengthened their resolve to fight against wrongdoing, even when it is supported by powerful individuals. For the 28th time, Nyanje in Ngororero district has commemorated the heroic actions of the Nyanje students who were placed in the Imena Heroes category. This follows the events of March 18, 1997, when insurgents attacked Nyanje Secondary School and demanded that students separated based on so-called ethnic identities. The late Chantal Mujawamahoro was the first to declare that there were no Hutu or Tutsi in the school, only Rwandans, a statement that resulted in her death. Some of the Imena heroes that are still alive state that their strong sense of the Rwandan identity stemmed from the lessons on unity and national cohesion they had received from the Rwandan government, which at the time had just recently stopped the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. The Culture and Heroism Club at École Secondaire Nyange currently consists of about 50 students. A museum or center of Rwandan identity has been established at the school, showcasing Rwanda's history, particularly that of the former Kibuye prefecture. The site highlights events that occurred in the area during the genocide against the Tutsi and the heroic actions of the Nyange students. Francois Ngarambe, the Chancellor of the Chancellery for Heroes, National Orders and Decorations of Honor, has emphasized that heroism should be integrated into daily life rather than being seen solely in the context of war and sacrifices requiring bloodshed. Parents are being urged to collaborate with the government in promoting a culture of heroism, as they are the first educators of their children before sending them to schools or other institutions that prepare them to be educated and responsible adults. Now, the Rwanda National Police has stated that it is leveraging technology to prevent corruption in some of its departments that were previously linked to such issues. As the institution responsible for public safety, security and law enforcement, the Rwanda National Police has also revealed that 3 police officers are currently under investigation for corruption-related offenses. Our colleague Francine Mutesi sat down with the spokesperson of the National Police, ACP Boniface Rutikanga, to ask him more on the matter.
Do read those reports, and somehow we have few individuals who demonstrate some malpractice tendencies that might be qualified as a corruption. But again, yes, we have had a few cases of police officers caught in these actions and produced before the court to face justice. So it's something that we don't deny, but again, we also have majority actually, 90-something% of a very good police officers who are not part of those tendencies, who are not supporting those tendencies. The evidence is that we've been announcing some police officers who really refuse to take bribes and present the presenters of the bribe before the leadership for further legal actions. So that is on the part of individuals who do not want to be engaged in corruption malpractices or tendencies that might be qualified as corruptions. But as a police institution, there are so many good measures that have been taken, and the actions or measures has to do with use of technology. Because where you hear about malpractices, tendencies, corruption tendencies, then you will certainly find poor service delivery, or you will find some bottlenecks that make people who seek the service think maybe he or she needs to do something to get the service. So we are removing those things. We are trying to make sure that all police services are accessed through digital means. I can give an example of control technique where we take our vehicles for inspection, where people take their vehicles for inspection, mechanical inspection, technical inspection. You apply through Irembo, that is digital application. You are responded digitally, and the confirmation of the appointment, you get it digitally, and you are given the result of the status of a vehicle digitally, meaning that there is minimal chances of interaction between the person seeking a service and the person providing a service. Another department that people normally tend to announce several times is the department that deals with driving tests and driving licenses. I think you have heard of Busanza Testing Center, where now everything is 100% digitally. We are trying to expand these services through the central government. There is a plan to extend these services in another region or another parts of the country to minimize chances where people are the ones in charge of deciding who passed or who did not pass. But meanwhile, we have introduced body-worn cameras on each police officer that is supervising the conduct of driving tests, whether in theory-based tests, that is computer-based and paper-based, but also practical testing exams. Every police who is on the ground must be with a body-worn camera that captures every moment, every action, every decision, and every conversation that takes place at that ground. But in the future, we are also encouraging owners of the testing grounds to introduce CCTVs to make sure that we capture very well everything that happens on the ground. But also, on top of that, we have introduced the use of drone over the grounds where the testing is conducted to make sure that we get those images, videos, clips of what happened. And this is really reducing a lot of complaints so far. And it is reducing that human interaction that, you know, allows people to negotiate and, you know, effect the corruption deals. So, police is committed to ensure that accountability is at the highest level, but is also committed to make sure that every service we do is done in a transparent manner, but also the services are delivered to the satisfaction of everyone. And there is no way you can achieve all these measures, you can make these measures work if you don't use technology.
A delegation of military officers from Nigeria, led by Major General Ademola Taiwo Adedoja, is on a 3-day visit here in Rwanda and has expressed appreciation for the country's peace-building programs conducted through the Rwanda Peace Academy. The delegation consists of 1 colonel and 2 generals. Their mission is to assess the Academy's operations and its international level training and research programs on peace building. The head of the delegation, who is the director of the Martin Luther Agwai International Leadership and Peacekeeping Center in Nigeria, has stated that they have found many commonalities with Rwanda's approach and also gained valuable insights from the visit.
In Rwanda to assess and observe the conduct of peacekeeping training, not only in the Rwanda Peace Academy that we visited today, but also at the Rwanda Military Academy where we visited yesterday. And the aim of this is to see how the conduct of training in relation to peace support operations and peacekeeping in general is done in Rwanda. Well, like I told you, the essence of this visit is to compare notes, to see what is done here and how it is a little different from what we do in Nigeria. I've seen that almost everything we do here is similar to what we do in Nigeria. And yesterday when we visited the Rwanda Military Academy, there are 1 or 2 areas that they've seen from us and they feel we could advise them how to go about it, which we eventually did. Here too today at the Rwanda Peace Academy, we've been able to maybe, you know, shed some light on the areas of partnership, how their courses are run, the kind of courses they do, as we'll be able to compare with what we do in Nigeria too. And 1 or 2 areas that are a little different from ours, we've asked them questions on how it is done, how they did it, and we hope that when we get back to Nigeria, we'll look into that direction and see how to make things better.
Retired Colonel Jill Rutarimara, the director of the Rwanda Peace Academy, presented an overview of the institution's training and research initiatives on peace building, highlighting their existing partnerships at the African level. He emphasized that such visits strengthen collaboration and promote the exchange of peace building strategies. The Nigerian delegation toured the Rwanda Peace Academy after visiting the Rwanda Military Academy at Gako. Nigeria and Rwanda maintain military cooperation, exchanging students and lecturers at the university level in their respective military academies. In Kigali, students from universities across African countries gathered for a 3-day international conference called the African Universities Summit. The summit focused on the role of students can play in the development of their countries and their continent as a whole. And our Gladys has more.
During this summit, African universities were urged to train their students to innovate in order to solve the problems in the societies they live in, thereby contributing to the self-reliance of their countries. Students from the Rwandan universities expressed their readiness to take action in this direction.
Variety of students have like women empowerment, job creation, education. So we are leveraging that opportunity we have here as they are looking at bridging a gap, the gap that's between countries that are underdeveloped and people. So the people who are here are putting much emphasis in the students in the universities. So we're leveraging the opportunities we have today to benefit us. Each of us have a target. We have to play a part in what we're doing. We have to play a part in our country. We have to play a part in our continent. We're focusing on raising the country standard, focusing on my country, Rwanda. We want to develop, we want to look like the rest of the country. We want to push to become better people. So we're leveraging the opportunities we have today and the better education we're receiving from various people and opportunities of meeting different people, networking. It's all about connecting and pushing us to reach the limit.
Several leaders of different African universities emphasized the need to focus on fostering a culture of self-reliance among Africans, as this will lead to significant results and contributions.
My concept of research as an academic is that when I come to class, I should be able to tell my students what solutions have I been able to use my research to solve, and thereby adding to the body of knowledge. We're told, particularly for some of us who engage in proper research, at the end, if you look at PhD thesis, contributions to knowledge. Now, what contributions are we making?
I think the university has to find a way to make the students be proud of themselves as Africans and have a concern for Africa, to recognize that if they don't stay and make it change, nobody's going to do it. And to also provide them with the courage to stay and to let them recognize that having material things will come after. I know that Rwanda has found amazing ways of homegrown solutions. The care of orphans by families, for example. That's one of the solutions I'm talking about, where we look at our own indigenous values and use them to manage our lives and ourselves in our current situation.
Although we've had lots of examples of really good innovation being driven by African universities, and really those universities serving as incubators and serving as places that might congratulate and celebrate and nurture young people, always providing opportunity, always providing ways to encourage young people to be the best. Now in Rwanda, we do that pretty well. We do that pretty well because we're connected with one another. We're connected across many different forms of community. But also we do it very well in Rwanda because the different ministries of the government get involved in the different programs within the universities.
The Minister of Education in Rwanda, Joseph Nsengimana, believes that everyone's contribution is essential for Africans to achieve self-reliance.
African universities must not only receive knowledge, but actively contribute to the global academia and research. The goal is not dependency, but empowerment, ensuring African institutions drive their own development. Sustainability is not an option, it is a necessity. University must integrate sustainability principles into curricula, research, and institution organizations. This is about more than environmental concern. It must include economic resilience, social equity, inclusive governance. University must not only teach sustainability, but embody it through green campuses, community-driven solutions, and research directly addresses Africa's unique challenges.
This summit, which brought together various African universities, highlighted Africa's desire to shape its own future. Representatives from these universities shared that 90% of students stay in their home countries after graduation, while 10% go to other continents, and they aim to reduce this number. Enora Gladys, RTV News.
Thank you, Enora, for that report. In Rwanda, a campaign is being conducted in secondary schools aimed at encouraging young people to engage with and understand financial activities such as saving and investing. This is part of the Global Money Week, which is being observed worldwide. The key message being conveyed in this campaign is the importance of making sound financial decisions regardless of the amount of money one has, with the goal of promoting savings. The campaign targets young people, especially those in secondary schools. As the first step, students in Kigali visited the Rwanda Stock Exchange, where they were educated about its operations and the potential benefits it offers.
I think this session was really eye-opening for me because most of us really don't know the benefits of investing in such companies and buying bonds and bills. But as of now, I have definitely gained the knowledge from it, and I am going to save from now on. I think a misconception most people have is that we do not have money, but the only problem is that we do not spend it wisely to gain the right returns from it. We only use it in such exploitational ways that instead we should be using them to gain such great returns. So as of now, I am going to start saving and start investing it in such companies to gain the better returns, because I think before I follow wise money tomorrow, I believe wise money today, as I'm going to start now, right now, as of this moment.
I think I've gained a lot about this session because it really opened my eyes on how the economy of Rwanda is doing, what to invest in and what to not invest in. I really didn't know much about stocks or bonds, but I think I've gained the knowledge, and I think I will use it in the future very wisely.
Finally, I learned so much. I thought adults were the only ones advised to invest or buy shares, but as for now, I've learned even a 16-year-old can buy shares.
The CEO of the Rwanda Stock Exchange, Pierre Celestin, explains that the initiative to teach young people to engage in financial activities is yielding positive results.
Week, it's a global initiative that takes 1 week, the same way you have Gender Month, for example, for SDGs. So Global Money Week is an event that takes place across the globe, but in particular here in Rwanda, we've decided to partner with ISEC and these young students mainly to start, every time we kickstart it with ringing the bell function here, so that we bring about public education, mainly financial literacy, to these youngsters, to make sure that they get to learn about money and services, financial services in general. But most importantly, we want them to be able to learn how to save and invest, but also to learn about financial services. Some of them may end up making careers out of it. Others may end up being big investors in the future or entrepreneurs. So what we are doing, we are just trying to sow a seed in them to know about financial services. It's very, very important, and the stock exchange is one of it's at the core of financial services in the country.
The CEO of the international organization promoting knowledge in economics, business and finance for youth, AIESEC Rwanda, Justice Oyakilome Anthony, highlights that when the culture of saving and investing starts with young people, it thrives even more.
I mean, the idea of Global Money Week has, again, is in the name itself, is global. It means that it's not just happening in Rwanda, it's happening across the world. The idea is to improve the financial literacy of young people so that they can make smarter financial decisions, mostly around savings, investment, and also budgeting, because as young people we have a limited amount of money, but we need to actually make sure that the ones we are spending, we are using it judiciously and in the right way as well. Just like we explained here, you can actually invest in bonds, and in 20 years you can actually see yourself financially stable and retired in a very good way. So that's the kind of idea and kind of mentality. We're trying to create a mindset shift very early on so that young people understand the value of money and not just spending as.
The financial sector in Rwanda is expected to play a key role in supporting domestic investment at a level of 70%, as outlined in the Rwandan government's National Strategy for Transformation, NST2. The goal will be achieved as the savings rate as a percentage of gross domestic product increases, rising from 12.4% in 2023 to 12.9% by 25.9% by 2029.
Ngewe icyo mbaza ni kimwe, koko hari umuntu ugihagarara ku nyama muri iki gihe koko? Uretse nitaba umukiriya. We kiriya biteze.
Ariko tayo, aho kusoreza imyenda wibereye kuri telefone kweli.
Ariko ni kuwa mbere nawe wagwa. Wambo? Uracyari wose? Icyo nakubwiraga wa muntu niko ye. Umuntu w'umugabo ku bukwe bwe akambara kositimu itukura iciye n'amaboko noneho. None se uyisuza?
Si wombwiye ngo ngwemo se?
Ntabwo ari ibi navugaga.
Kuwa mbere kanda akanyenyeri 345 akanyenyeri 2 urwego maze nawe ugwemo. Wikwisondeka.
Thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. Now let's head on over to other stories making headlines on the international scene. Heading over to African corruption, Paul Panoba, the Africa Regional Advisor for the corruption watchdog Transparency International, has noted that more support is needed for African governments committed to fighting corruption by establishing a system for citizens to report corruption crimes, pointing out that for governments to earn their citizens' trust, they need to show action.
The entire infrastructure fighting corruption, because a lot of measures that we'll take will begin with a report. Now, if citizens either don't trust that anything will be done, or they fear that whatever it is that they report, nothing will be, there will be some repercussions on them, there is a lot that just doesn't get known. Nobody reports what they've witnessed, observed, because there's no way to report, or they don't know how to report, there are no mechanisms. What some of the countries have done is to connect the two extremely important points. The extremely important point of political will at the top, ensuring that the leadership is speaking the same language and is going through the system all the way down to the citizen. No corruption. We are serious about corruption, and every corruption, wherever we see it, measures are taken. And then that is sufficiently communicated to citizens so that they trust that something is being done, and they can then report corruption, and the entire chain begins. We have seen this in, let me take Tanzania, for example. Tanzania has moved 10 points. In those 10 years, Tanzania has increased a number of measures, but also communicating these measures to the public that we are serious about as a leadership this issue, and when you report it, something will be done. That's extremely important. It's the same thing with Cote d'Ivoire, if I'm to go West Africa, that the High Authority Against Corruption is increasingly partnering with a number of stakeholders, including civil society, to communicate the measures being taken and to solicit the support of these stakeholders in fighting against corruption.
Heading over to the USA, U.S. President Donald Trump has made it clear that taking American citizens or any citizens hostage or wrongfully detaining them is not appropriate and will be answered in the toughest way possible. VOA with more.
There's nothing more important for this country than for everyone to know that if they're abroad and they're taken, that the country has their back. President Trump has made it a critical priority of his and his administration to do that. The president made it abundantly clear that taking U.S. citizens or any citizens unwrongfully is not appropriate, and it will be answered in the toughest way possible. So it's starting a new era. I do believe it is new, where we're saying that it is not acceptable in any case to hold American citizens abroad wrongfully.
There's no one agency that gets this done. We will work with our partners in the CIA and the intelligence community. We will demolish any political obstacles that stand in the way. I will do everything as your director of the FBI to marshal the resources necessary to make sure that no other American family feels that pain.
And this president has no qualms about using action when it's necessary. And we will all back him up in that. And the president will continue to push until all of our Americans, dead or alive, are returned.
And that VOA story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we wind up, let's have a recap of our headlines. Analysts and politicians alike argue that economic and ethnic-based political interests are among the key reasons Belgium has sided with the Congolese government in the ongoing security crisis in the Eastern DRC. Regional analysts find that the vested interests of certain countries and international organizations are key factors undermining efforts to achieve lasting peace and security in Eastern DRC. On the international scale, Paul Banoba, Africa Regional Advisor for the corruption watchdog Transparency International, has noted that more support is needed for African governments committed to fighting corruption by establishing a system for citizens to report corruption crimes. And that it marks the end of our bulletin tonight. On behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. Who brought to you the news was Martina Avera. Stay safe and have a good night.